Johannah Duggar's name has once again captured public attention, but this time not through a planned appearance or family update. A hidden video diary, reportedly recorded privately by Johannah herself, has surfaced online, offering an unexpectedly personal glimpse into her thoughts, emotions, and moments of quiet reflection. The footage, though not confirmed by the family, is said to show fragments of her life during a period marked by emotional distance and family separation. What makes this leak so impactful is not the sensational aspect of its discovery, but the raw humanity within it, the visible pain, resilience, and longing of a young woman growing up within one of America's most watched families. The video begins simply with Johannah seated in a softly lit room, her voice steady but hesitant, as if speaking to herself rather than to an audience. She talks about missing the sense of togetherness that once defined the Duggar household, recalling days when laughter filled the hallways and family dinners stretched late into the evening. She reflects on the changes that have unfolded since the family's reality television era ended, the shifting dynamics, and the quiet moments that followed when the cameras stopped rolling and life began to settle into a different rhythm. What strikes viewers most is her honesty. There is no bitterness in her tone, only a quiet sadness and an earnest desire to understand how something once so unified could now feel so scattered. The Duggar family's history has always been tightly intertwined with ideas of unity, discipline, and shared faith. From the early days of their show, 19 Kids and Counting, they presented a portrait of large family harmony grounded in strict religious values and collective purpose. But as the years passed, as children grew up and began forming their own lives, the illusion of perfect cohesion began to fade. Public controversies, differing beliefs, and personal choices created cracks in what was once perceived as an unshakable foundation. Johannah, one of the younger siblings who grew up in the shadows of these changes, now appears to be navigating the emotional consequences of that transformation. Her diary offers a rare, intimate lens into what it feels like to come of age in a family once united by faith and fame, but later divided by time and circumstance. Analysts familiar with the Duggars' story note that Johannah's quiet reflections reflect not rebellion but yearning. Psychologists who study family systems point out that children raised in large, highly structured environments often internalize emotional conflicts in silence. Without open dialogue, their feelings may surface later through writing, art, or in this case, recorded self-conversation. The video, though personal, highlights a universal struggle: the challenge of reconciling love for one's family with the pain of growing apart. It is not just a story about the Duggars. It's a story about change, maturity, and the inevitable complexity of human relationships. In one particularly moving section of the leaked footage, Johannah speaks about her siblings. She recalls how, as a child, she admired them, how Johannah would take care of her like a second mother, how Jessa always encouraged her to find her voice, how Joanna made her laugh even in difficult times. Yet she admits things now feel different. Many of her siblings live far away, busy with their own families, and communication has become sparse. It's not anyone's fault, she says softly, but sometimes it feels like we're all living in separate worlds. Her tone carries no resentment, only the melancholy realization that distance, both physical and emotional, is sometimes the quiet cost of growing older. Experts have long observed that the Duggar family's dynamic shifted dramatically after the end of their television run and the legal controversies surrounding Josh Duggar. The public scrutiny not only changed how the family interacted with the outside world, but also reshaped internal relationships. The older siblings began redefining their own faith, forming new interpretations of the values they were raised with, while some, like Johannah, were left to make sense of the transitions while still forming their identities. The diary, if genuine, becomes more than a private confession. It becomes a poignant snapshot of generational evolution within a family that has lived most of its life in the public eye. As news of the leak spread online, fan reactions were mixed but overwhelmingly sympathetic. Many expressed empathy for Johannah, noting how her tone reflected emotional maturity beyond her years. Some drew parallels between her quiet introspection and similar stories of individuals raised in high-profile or religiously strict families who later sought emotional understanding and balance. Social media discussions quickly shifted from curiosity about the video itself to broader reflections on privacy, emotional expression, and the challenges of growing up under constant observation. Family therapists who have followed the Duggar story emphasize that Johannah's reflections represent a natural stage of emotional development. As children transition into adulthood, especially within close-knit or authoritative families, they begin seeking authenticity and meaning beyond collective identity. Johannah's voice, calm yet searching, captures that process in real time. Her reflections on missing family unity are less about criticism and more about love, the kind that longs for connection even when circumstances make it difficult. Throughout the diary, Johannah repeatedly references faith. She speaks about prayer, about trying to understand God's plan amid confusion, and about believing that every separation, no matter how painful, serves a purpose. Her words echo a theme that has long defined the Duggar family's public narrative, but now appear through a more personal lens. For Johannah, faith isn't an external performance. It's a quiet conversation between her heart and her beliefs. That distinction feels important, signaling how younger members of the family may be internalizing the lessons of their upbringing in more individual and reflective ways. The emotional depth of the diary has sparked commentary from religious and cultural analysts who see it as part of a larger shift among younger generations raised in traditional households. While older family members often emphasize conformity and obedience, the younger ones seem to value authenticity and vulnerability. Johannah's quiet honesty becomes emblematic of that transformation, faith not as a set of rigid rules, but as a personal journey shaped by experience and introspection. In one of the final clips, Johannah is seen sitting outdoors, the wind softly moving through her hair as she looks at the horizon. Her voice trembles slightly as she says, "I miss how it used to be, but maybe this is how it's supposed to be now." The line captures the essence of her emotional journey, a recognition that love can persist even amid separation, and that family bonds, though tested, often evolve rather than vanish. Her words carry the tone of someone who has stopped searching for perfection and started embracing reality with grace. The Duggar family has not issued an official statement regarding the alleged leak, and it remains unclear who shared the footage or why. However, within the quiet of her words, audiences have found something profoundly relatable: the realization that even in families built on faith and tradition, vulnerability is inevitable and deeply human. What people are responding to most isn't controversy, it's authenticity. Johannah's diary, in its simplicity, touches on truths that many experience but few articulate so openly. The ache of missing people who are still alive, the confusion of navigating adulthood within the shadow of family expectations, and the beauty of learning to love without control. Media commentators have praised the video's emotional honesty, calling it a turning point in how the public perceives the younger Duggars. Rather than viewing them solely as products of a reality television legacy, audiences are beginning to see them as individuals with unique voices and stories. Johannah's introspective tone, filled with both sorrow and hope, reminds viewers that fame does not shield anyone from the universal challenges of identity, belonging, and emotional growth. From a broader cultural perspective, this moment also raises important questions about privacy, mental health, and storytelling. In an era where personal content can leak and circulate within hours, how do we as a society approach such material with sensitivity? Ethical journalists and commentators have urged the public to focus less on the leak itself and more on the message it conveys. The courage it takes for a young woman to process pain in her own way, even unintentionally shared. Thanks for watching.